So in this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and what this particular chart of Bitcoin could potentially mean in the next few weeks and months. So as far as Bitcoin is concerned, we've seen this nice major rally in the price recently. Now, I should tell you, in the previous video I published just last week, in my last video about Bitcoin, the title of my video was Bitcoin annihilates shorts, annihilates short sellers. Now, when I published my video last week, some people were commenting on my video saying, Alessio, what are you talking about annihilated? The price of Bitcoin is only 9,580. You know, what are you talking about? And of course, we saw what happened next. We saw the price of Bitcoin, I think within a few hours or a day later, the price of Bitcoin just skyrocketed past the 10K level, went above 10,000, and it's now trading, I think, just over 11,000 as I'm speaking right now. And by the way, here's what I said in my members video last Sunday. Here it is.
Potential target 1 is 97.58, then 10,006, and then 10,507. These are the short-term bullish projections. The next projection above that would be 10,507.
So guys, you heard there, the price of Bitcoin actually met all those targets pretty much soon after I made that video. And in fact, here's one specific target I mentioned back in my member videos in May. I think it was May, April. I've had this specific target on Bitcoin for several months, and Bitcoin finally hit that level. Here's the members video from back then.
These are potential targets are calculated, and there's a special formula which I've used to calculate these levels. The first two targets have already been met. So the first two targets on Bitcoin that you can see here have already been met. The next potential target is going to be at 11,585. That increases the likelihood of a move eventually to 11,585, which is my targets in the medium term for Bitcoin. Our medium term target by July of this year is about 11,585, our target number 3.
So guys, as you heard there, that particular members video from some months ago was predicting a move to 11,585. In fact, I have a specific calculation that I do, and I discussed this in the members videos about how we reach these specific targets. And of course, we met that target very recently. Okay guys, so bottom line is, where do I see Bitcoin now and its price structure? The price structure as we see now in Bitcoin shows to us we're likely in a wave 5. In fact, I've said this now for several weeks and months now, that the sideways move in Bitcoin, this corrective pattern was likely a wave 4, and that we were expecting a major wave 5 higher to those specific levels, to those targets I just mentioned. So bottom line is, I think we have the structure now for a wave 5. Now, some of you may be confused by this because you're probably thinking, well, wave 5 sounds like we could be seeing a correction in the next few months. That is correct. Because you see, what I'm talking about when I say a wave 5, I mean a 5-wave move or a wave 5 within a much larger, a much bigger wave 1. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and watch my previous video. In a previous video, I think it was back in the month of June, I discussed my most bullish prediction for Bitcoin for the next few months and years. And I said that so far, we're probably forming a 5-wave move in a larger wave 1, in a much bigger wave 1, in a multi-month, multi-year 5-wave move, in fact. And once this wave 1, this larger mega wave 1 completes, then we could see a correction, an ABC type correction or retracement back down to some key levels. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that particular correction is going to start straight away. Again, we don't know exactly when that correction could start. It could happen at the same time as when the stock markets have a correction. Okay, so I think because of the correlation between the S&P, the stock markets, and Bitcoin, it's very possible that when the stock markets start their correction, their retracement, that could influence Bitcoin too, because we've seen before how Bitcoin and the stock markets often move in tandem, in correlation. Now, don't get me wrong here. Bitcoin has so far been outperforming stock markets. The recent major rally in Bitcoin has outperformed the rally in the stock markets. So I'm not saying the correlation is exactly 100%, but I think there is this correlation. And until we see decoupling, we have to assume this correlation will continue. And I think once the stock markets, once the S&P has a major retracement, once it has a major pullback or correction, I think we could see a similar correction, major deep correction in the price of Bitcoin as well. Now, this should tell you something quite important. It means that even if the price of Bitcoin continues to go higher, which I think is quite likely, I think we could see further higher moves in the price of Bitcoin in the medium term. So I think that even if this wave 5 continues to push higher, the bottom line is this: we're still going to see another major pullback or correction in the price of Bitcoin in potentially the next few weeks or months. That pullback will likely bring Bitcoin back down below 10K again. And you may remember from my previous video on this, my most bullish prediction, that could be the last time that we will see the price of Bitcoin sub 10K, below 10K, before we see the next major bullish move higher again. So that means this, guys. That means that we're probably going to see another revisiting of sub 10K levels. All right, so if any of you are thinking, well, we're probably never going to see 10K or below 10K ever again, no, I think we will. I think it's quite probable that in the next few months, maybe potentially next few weeks or months, we could see Bitcoin once again retesting the 10K or potentially sub 10K, below the 10K levels for a brief while, for a brief moment, before we see another major rally much further higher. And I don't think we'll see sub 10K levels after that. I think once that happens, once we go back below 10K again in the next few months, then after that, we won't see prices below the 10K level for a very long time. Because then I'm expecting a multi-month, multi-year rally significantly higher, above the 20K, potentially towards the 30K levels. And by the way, that means this too. That means I don't think we've seen FOMO yet. I don't think we've seen the fear of missing out just yet in the price of Bitcoin. I still think there's a lot of non-believers out there, I think perhaps. But I think FOMO is not there yet. I think we will reach FOMO potentially in the next few weeks or months. And you will know we've reached FOMO, fear of missing out, when you hear people saying, oh, this market's never going to pull back. Oh, Bitcoin is never going to have a pullback or correction. Forget it. It's done. It's going to go massively higher now. When you see the FOMO crowd, when you see the extremely over bullish crowd in Bitcoin, then you will know that we're very likely going to see a pullback or retracement in the price of Bitcoin at that point. And by the way, if you do hear anybody saying, hey, you know what, Bitcoin is never going to pull back, never going to have a correction ever again, just tell them this. Yeah, that. All right, guys.